What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So if you're watching this video, the embargo on the Glock Gen 6 has been lifted for all the media, and now you're just getting flooded with videos of how great the Glock and innovative, how great and innovative the Glock Gen 6 is. Me personally, I'm thoroughly underwhelmed, just like usual with freaking Glock. It seems that a lot of people, it seems there's pretty much two camps, like, oh, it's awesome, they should keep it exactly the way it is. It's fantastic what they're doing. And then the other half is like, they're not changing anything. I'm in that camp. I think Glock drastically needs to change. This was, do you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're going to sell them anyway, right? They're a juggernaut. They're huge. They're going to sell them anyway. It doesn't do anything substantially different than the first gen Glock. So what, I mean, there's small incremental changes. And again, some people are into that, but it's been so long. It's been 40 plus years since they've hit the US market. And it looks basically the same with a few, you know, you gussied it up a little bit. You put some lipstick on a pig type of, I mean, and before people were like, you're just a Glock hater. I currently own like 7 or more. I just like 7 Glocks or more. And throughout my life, I have probably owned more than 20 Glocks. So no, I'm not a hater. I love Glock. I think they're great. Matter of fact, here's one right here. Glock 37 in 45 gap, right? This is a 3rd generation Glock. Do you think if I hated Glock, I would own like their most obscure caliber with basically a dead caliber? All right, this is like their baby. They came up with this. I own one. How many other folks watch this video out there own a Glock 37 or any Glock chambered in 45 gap? You wouldn't, because it doesn't make any sense, because it's pretty much a dead cartridge. But some of the things I want to go through and point out some of the things they're touting. Now, you see all the top guys that were invited out to shoot the Gen 6 Glock like it's some new, experience. I'm sure it just shoots like the old ones, maybe a little different. The Gen 5, I will admit the Gen 5s, I do have several Gen 5s, and I think that it is a vast improvement over the Gen 1, but it took you 5 generations and 30, 40 years to get there. What and the changes that they've done, shops, even people at home have been doing their own changes. So they're like, well, it's got this and that and flat face triggers and all this kind of stuff. But you failed to address some of the biggest complaints, my opinion, of course. But they failed to address some of the biggest complaints that people have with Glock, at least people on my camp that say you don't innovate enough. What exactly are you doing to change stuff? Let me deviate a little bit, but it's still in the same vein. All right, I'm a big Corvette guy. I've owned 4. I don't remember. I've owned several Corvettes in my life. And since the 1st generation in the early 1950s, C1 they call it. Now we're on the 8th generation, C8. Do they look the same? They're not. You wouldn't even think they're made by the same car brand or the same car, but they're still called Corvette. They innovate, they update with the times. I mean, so many people complain about the Glock MOS thing. Apparently they came out, they tried the COA, then they canceled that, then they don't, and nobody knows what the new mounting system is. Or now it's I'm sorry, now it's like these plastic crush plates, and they go, well, it's plastic because it absorbs stuff better. Like, what are we doing here? What? Okay, so some of the biggest complaints I've heard throughout my also 30 plus years or more of owning Glocks and shooting Glocks and competing with Glocks and IDPA. I even used to shoot production USPSA with Glocks, okay? I like Glocks. I shoot Glocks. I own Glocks. I know Glocks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys will probably be able to relate down in the comments, okay? You'll probably be able to relate with this. Some of the biggest complaints I hear, number one, the biggest complaint I hear, plastic sights. As far as I saw in the videos that were out there, it's still going to come with plastic sights. plastic sights, okay? You couldn't even throw in a set of metal sights. That's one. Picatinny rail. Why you have to have this proprietary crap here? Why? Just give the people Picatinny rail, okay? From the pictures and everything I saw, Gen 6 still has this bullshit on it, right? Those are the two main complaints I hear. You know, you hear stuff about finger grooves, and again, this is a Gen 3, but here's a Gen 5 45. The 6 almost looks just like the 45. What did they change? They stippled a little bit here and like, we put a gas pedal. Glock customizing shops have been doing this for decades. People have been doing it at home. You know, look, here's my Gen 4 19. I carried the crap. This was my main carry gun for years and years and years and years and years. Now I did this, it looks like crap because I'm not that good at it, but professionals have been doing this crap for years. This had finger grooves. I hated it. I shaved them off. Then I took a hot whatever and stippled it in this golf ball pattern. And then I also heat the frame up and squeeze it this way. There were people online literally decades ago talking about you put JB weld in here and you could contour the grip. Did they ever change the grip? No. You got Walther PPQs, Walther PDPs. You got all kinds of guns with vastly superior ergonomics, in my opinion. But yet you still got this soap bar grip for Glock that you barely changed. Oh, they flared the mag well. Gen 5 has a flared mag well. What are we doing here? What? So, you know, people were like, they beveled the nose on the Gen 5. Again, here's Gen 337. It had beveled nose, proving they could have done this years ago. This is all stuff they could have done years ago. The biggest one is the sights. And all this criticism that I'm giving, it doesn't matter. People are going to rush right out and buy them anyway. But what does it exactly do over a Gen 1, Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, whatever? What exactly does it do? The flat face trigger. Okay, there's a change. But a lot of these aftermarket companies, Apex and a lot, have been offering flat face triggers for freaking years, bro. Glock really doesn't give a shit what the enthusiasts think. They're like, here's a Glock. We changed the rough texture frame, which they had an RTF thing 20 years ago. So that's not like it's a new thing. We did palm swells. You know what? You know what Glock should have done? And they don't care what I say. I'm just some turd on the internet, right? But you know what Glock should have done, in my opinion? You know what should be the Gen 6 Glock, in my opinion? The Stoeger STR-9. This was like $189, $219, something like that. It was right around $200. This pistol was $200. And in my opinion, it looks much better. Just the looks looks much better than the Gen 6 Glock. Shoot, they should have copied this. And Glock should have copied this and released this. Metal sights. You want metal sights, Glock? Oh, this has metal sights. $200 gun has metal sights. Flat face trigger. Oh, look at that. That is a flat face trigger on a $200 gun. Palm swells. What's that right there? Palm swells in the grip. Removable back straps. Metal magazines. Metal guide rod. Metal guide rod. $200 gun. Picatinny rail. $200 gun. The only thing I would change on this is I was round this trigger guard off. You can't even do that, Glock. You can't even do that. Look what I did on mine. Now that's an aesthetics thing. Some people like, some people don't like. But round the trigger guard off. Who is putting their finger like this in 2025? You don't need this bull crap. Just round the edge off a little bit. Like that, you know? That's the only thing I would say about this gun. But you're talking about extended slide release, front and rear cocking serrations, which are deep and sharp. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? 2 metal magazines, yeah, it's got finger grooves, you don't like that, but these are very muted. I'm telling you right now, and again, my personal opinion on how hands feel, this feels like holding a brick. This $200 Turkish-made Gen 3 Glock clone feels better in my hand than this Glock 45, and I love this Glock 45. I even made a video that I think this is up to date, this date, I think this is the finest Glock they ever made. The 19 size slide on the 17 frame, fantastic. I think it's awesome. It shoots great. Their marksman barrel. Now again, I'm giving Glock a little bit of crap, okay? But I love Glocks. But if they had come up with something like this, and then they're like, they went back to, so through all the generations of Glocks, we went from no fingers grooves to finger grooves to single recoil spring to dual capture recoil spring. Now we're back to single spring. Then we did rough texture. Then it was too rough, and we didn't take. They keep going back and forth. Are we clowns here? Are we clowns? They're like, this one's totally different. We went back to the single spring recoil spring. It wasn't our fault. It was 40's fault. That's why we switched it up and stuff. But when they sold it as the dual one, they sold it as much more reliable, helping reduce recoil, all this other kind of. Now they're going, nah, well, you know, we might have had some issues, so we're back to the single one. And it's, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but it looked like in the video it was still plastic. I don't know. But Glock didn't even bother to address the biggest complaints that I personally have heard, and I've heard a lot of people say it and seen online, that it still comes with plastic sights. It still doesn't have Picatinny rail. It's got its Glock proprietary stuff. When they're cut out, like, why doesn't the industry, this is a whole industry thing, side note now that I'm ranting here, why doesn't the industry just make everything a freaking RMR pattern or something like that, or RMSC or whatever? Why don't we settle on one instead of all this different crap all over the place, man? But if they had come up with something similar to this, I dig the scallops in the front, the deep slide serrations. This is, and by the way, this has been totally reliable for me. This is a fantastic handgun. And for $200, what are the new Glocks going to come out at? $700 when they drop. By the way, they're dropping, I think, January 20th, which is right at SHOT Show time. When they drop, people, you know how it is for the first year, people like scalp the shit out of them. And it's going to be $850. They're going to get a few online, and somebody's going to throw them on Gun Broker because they can't find them in their local gun shop. And they're going to be like, oh, I got to get the Gen 6. And they're going to buy that sucker. And it's going to do the same thing that the Gen 5 did and all this other kind of crap. But they got palm swells. They got palm swells. So, again, this gun has palm swells. What did you do, Glock, that's very innovative? The Glock Gen 6 looks like a customized Gen 3, roughly. I know they got the little extended slide thing. I left my 49 upstairs. But I know they got the little extended slide, something like the 47 and the 49, because it's shorter recoil. And I dig that, dude. I like the Glock 49. A lot of people don't like the Glock 49. I like it. I think it's fantastic. But other than that, what did you do? If you'd have come out with something like this, I think you would have got all the people that say Glock doesn't innovate enough over on the camp of, oh, I'm buying that. I'm trying to. And you know what? As I'm making this video, I will probably buy a Gen 6, but it's probably for the channel, and I'll wait a while to do it because, you know, because Glock ain't gonna send me nothing. But yeah, also I'll probably buy one just for the channel and let you know. And maybe I won't waste my money because I have to buy it myself, because I know I'm gonna say it shoots like a Glock, a Gen 5 Glock. So there it is, guys. Let me know what you think about the new Glock release. I think it's ridiculously underwhelming. There's my doggy. And I personally believe that a lot of the complaints Glock gets, this gun addresses. I said in the full review, and you know what? I'll put that down below, that I think this is better than all the Glocks up to Gen 4. I think the Gen 5, they did change the grip a little bit, but not enough. I think this is a vastly superior grip. And again, in my hands, but look, I can touch the mag release without ever having to shift my grip. Metal magazines, bro. And it came with 2 of them. I mean, yeah, let me know. You know, not, if people are familiar with my channel, they know it's not a stretch for me to be like, okay, so you slapped a different, you put some, if it was a car, they're like, we put some air vents on the side. Are they real? No, they're fake. And this year we offer new colors. Now, let's get back to cars real quick, then I'll wrap this up. In Corvettes, in the generations, they usually last 6 to 8 years. I think the third generation C3, which was in the 70s and 80s, I think that was the longest running generation of 15, 16 years, whatever it was. If Corvette guys, let me know. I forgot. I've been out the game for a while. But they will do incremental changes within those generations in the years. I personally think if I was running Glock, and I'm not, but I'm going to give you my opinion anyway. If I in the different generations, however long they lasted, let's say just for math purposes, they lasted 5 years each, which I know they varied differently. But I would be like, okay, here's Gen 3, the first year of production. We got this. We got this. Second year of production. We got this third year of production. And then the fourth gen, the next generation after that, you do a drastic change. You come out with something like this. Just do some wild stuff, man. Mix it up. That's my whole thing. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Guys, I know it's going to be great. I know it's going to shoot great. I know it's going to be reliable. It is a Glock. Okay, Glock has built their name on that. But remember, they're Glock perfection. If they were perfection, they'd have got it right the first time. But never mind. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with Glock. So there it is, guys. There's my take and opinion on the Glock, not having got it in my hands, but I'm pretty sure it will shoot like all other 7 or 8 of my Glocks. And they still didn't address even the small things, man. Plastic sights. Plastic sights. All right, guys, there it is. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.